Hello, everybody. This is John. Welcome to the Ag Weather Outlook for March 12th, 2016. Well, I hope you're enjoying the warm weather. We've had that now for a number of days. It's been a nice break here. It's got things going outside. I noticed I have a little bit of green that I'm beginning to see here. And this time of year, as you know, it starts to go a little bit quicker. But you also hopefully notice I issued a trend alert for colder temperatures. Now, these trend alerts, what I try to do is let you know that you're the very first ones to know of these major trends that are going to shape our weather. And that's either a trend to a hot or a cold spell or a wet or a dry spell. And I'm not picking out every little spell, but these are the major spells. So before I get to that, let's look at precipitation for the last 7 days. And the big story was definitely over the south central U.S. with over 20 inches of precipitation in spots and centered over Louisiana. And the question was whether this would push into the eastern corn belt. And some of it did, some modest precipitation. But you only see maybe an inch or two here. Western parts of Kentucky closer to 2 inches. So we really missed that. You might remember models for at one time showed it coming right into central Illinois and Indiana, and then with subsequent model runs, it sort of was more and more confined to the south. So from this rain event, this excessive rain event, really ended up for most of the Midwest a very quiet week. And if we look at the precipitation over the last 7 days, take a look here. Yellows, reds, or no shading at all, and that's either no precipitation or below normal precipitation. Now, for Iowa here, look at this. This is an area that's been very wet. I'll show this to you in soil moisture in just a minute. And look at this here. We had a dry week, and that's what I've been saying is that I sort of thought that that was going to be improving. We've got excellent winter soil moisture recharge going into spring. And right now, we could sort of end things there for a while. So that was a very good week in that area. Northern Illinois likewise. So overall, we had a pretty good week as far as precipitation. Areas that needed a little bit more got a little bit more, but not too much. Areas that needed little, if any, did okay. Now, one exception is the upper Midwest. This is an area that could use some more precipitation, and that remained fairly quiet last week. Now, there was a little bit of snow. Any snow we're getting this time of year typically melts very quickly, but there was some modest snow, even in the 2 to 4 inch range in a few spots over Wisconsin and Minnesota. Elsewhere, no snow. Now, rivers are responding to some of the recent rainfall, and the way we characterize flooding is minor, moderate, or major. Minor is the boxes that are in orange. Moderate is red and major is purple, and just strong within bank flows are in yellow. So you can see we still have rivers running fairly high in parts of Indiana, and then along parts of the Mississippi River Valley, we also have rivers running quite high. Now, most of the Mississippi is not in an unusually high flow. We have some minor flooding. It's mainly the tributaries going into the Mississippi. Okay, now soil moisture is always of special interest of mine. And what I have here are two areas I've been sort of keeping my eye on. One is the upper Midwest that's been trending dry, and that's where we need more precipitation. And then over the Iowa, parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, northern Illinois area that's been wet. And most of that area, not all, most had a fairly good week. That's why I mentioned that southeast Minnesota and northwest Iowa had very little rain or snow last week, so it ended up pretty good. Parts of Minnesota also and Wisconsin did have that heavy or that modest snow, so sort of a mixed bag there. But northwest Iowa actually didn't have much, so that worked out good. So that's an area. Now, the eastern corn belt, I see a little bit of green, maybe a little bit of yellow, so I'd say that's close to normal, and western corn belt also fairly close to normal. Now, right now, when I look at the big picture as far as any big pooling of cold air, I don't see it yet, but that's going to change. Right now, I just see a lot of warm air just about everywhere, but we're really going to start to see this transition later this week. It's going to be a gradual transition. So this week we still have the bowing of the jet stream over the eastern U.S., but look at it, it's beginning to shift off now to the east. but temperatures this week are still going to average well above normal. This is the first 5 days, so we're going to be starting off with temperatures still 5 to as much as maybe 15 degrees above normal, but that is going to be changing with this transition coming in. Now I want to show you the first system that represents this transition, and this is on Wednesday of this week, and you can see we're starting to get some very deep low pressure here. It doesn't tap a lot of Gulf moisture, so it's not going to be a real heavy precipitation system for the most part, but there could be some modest snowfall in the cold air. But this is a transition. Just wanted to give you some timing on as we begin to end the warm spell that we've had. Now, the eastern corn belt, most of the week will be in that still above normal, but the upper Midwest will be gradually turning colder behind this system. So here's your precipitation forecast. Generally speaking, about an inch, maybe an inch or so. But again, this is an area that's been, we wanted to dry out. So in this area, not that heavy. This area, we could use a little bit more precipitation. So that's actually beneficial. And so overall, we're looking at a fairly beneficial type precipitation pattern this week over the area. Now, as far as snow goes, very hard to say exactly where this snow band will be, but I do think there will be some modest snow, perhaps in the 3 to 6 inch range, somewhere in the upper Midwest. We'll keep an eye on this week. I think it's going to be narrow. I don't think it'll be all that widespread, but there could be some modest snowfall. Now, if we get into the 6 to 10 day period, this is where we get that cold air back to either normal or below normal. Looks like temperatures could be 5 to 10 degrees below normal during this period, March 17th through 22nd. Look how the jet stream now, you get that dip in the jet stream. So here temperatures below normal. And this is the average for the 6 to 10 day. I just wanted to give you a little bit better idea here. This is on March 20th, and you can see it's somewhat variable here. It's not a real extensive cold, but you can see pulses of colder air are pushing in. So the trend alert is not necessarily for an extreme cold, late season cold. It's more for a change away from that warm pattern and back to normal to below normal temperatures. Then as we get into the very end of March, I think we get back to normal. So it's not going to be a long-lived pattern. We get to the end of March, here we go again. And we're going to have to see as we get into April. Hopefully I'll take a look at that this week, because it does seem like there's some pooling of very cold air up here. And as long as we have that pooling of cold air, I think we're vulnerable for that pushing down. So we might be getting in this pattern, again, west and east split, west warm, east cool, and that would give us some cooler temperatures, unfortunately, as we get into April. We'll keep an eye on that. Now, as far as precipitation goes, week 2, models are currently not showing anything excessive. Matter of fact, with that pattern of the upper trough digging, that's usually not a heavy precipitation. We get the heavier precipitation when we get the warmer air in and we can hold more moisture in the atmosphere. Okay, so as far as temperatures go, soil temperatures, the warm air, you can see we've really brought that 50-degree line now, the darker shade of green. We've pushed it pretty far north, but then in the forecast for the week, as we get into the cooler air pushing down, you can see temperatures, soil temperatures cool, and we push that 50-degree band right back into the Kansas, Missouri, and along the Ohio River. So we've had a really unusual, strong, warm push of temperatures, but it does look like with that cooler air pushing in by late week, we will be cooling things down. So right now, really no alerts other than maybe to keep an eye on that snow. But the trends are the warm trend will be ending. We're going to be going to some colder temperatures, more normal in spots, below normal in other spots, then some variability. Not necessarily a long, prolonged period of cold temperature, more variable temperatures. I don't see a return to that warm weather, extensive warm weather, at least into the immediate future. Below normal precipitation, most areas, is the overall trend, but this week we could have some modest precipitation, up to an inch in many areas. So I hope everybody has a great week. Enjoy the warm weather while we can, and I'll be talking with you again real soon.